Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you my gluten-free banana walnut bread. And the first thing that you want to do is preheat your oven to 350. And I have some walnuts here. It's bits and pieces already, but we're going to toast these up and then cut them up for our batter. But I'm going to put these in the oven. And you want enough to measure out to be about a cup. But if you like more, add more. Or don't add any if you don't like nuts. And while those are in the oven, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that is watching and commenting. And thank you so much for all the super nice comments. And tips and suggestions too. And if there's any recipes that you want me to try or anything else, or if you want to send me a recipe that you want me to experiment with and make gluten-free, I'll put my information below. You could send me a recipe and I'll convert it for you. I'd be happy to help. I'm always looking for new recipes, and I like to share recipes too, as you know. And I also want to say too is if you know anybody that might benefit from my recipes or my way of cooking, by all means share on social media. You know, share with your friends and your family or whoever you think, even if they're not gluten-free and they just like cooking shows or new recipes, and that would help me out. I do have a Patreon, and the link is below, but I know everybody can't support in that way. Even just watching and liking my videos is helping, and I really do appreciate it. And always, thank you for watching. So now we'll get to our recipe here while the nuts are in the oven. So we're gonna mix the dry ingredients first. And in this bowl, I have 2 1/4 cups of my gluten-free flour. And it's already room temperature. And I have 3 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. And just mix this together. You can see it's really minimal ingredients for this banana bread. And set that aside. Ooh. I have 2 loaf pans here. Oh, they're about 8 by 5, and they are greased with butter. So I like to use the glass loaf pans for this recipe. They get the bread really golden brown. When I do this recipe in my darker loaf pans, it tends to be really dark, and then it looks burnt, but it isn't burnt. But this works really good. But use whatever you have. It works really well in either pan. And you could do this in 2 9 by 5 pans, but they'll be a little bit shorter. So the 2 8 by 5 is really good. You could even do this as muffins. So I have 2 sticks of butter, which is 1 cup, and it's pretty soft, room temperature. And I'm just kind of mixing it just a little bit to get it broken up a little bit, or just mixed around a little bit. And once you've got your butter kind of mixed up a little bit, we're gonna add in 1/2 cup of honey, or whatever sugar substitute you'd like, or real sugar. And my nuts are nice and toasted, so I'm just gonna leave those to cool off for just a few minutes while we finish mixing our other ingredients here. So just mix your honey and your butter together. And it doesn't even have to be mixed all the way, because we're gonna be mixing everything else in too. And I have 4 large bananas, and you could use frozen bananas for this recipe, whatever you have. And I just break it up just to give it a head start a little bit. Get off the strings if you can. And then with your whisk that's full of butter, I'm just going to start mashing up my bananas just with my whisk. You could use a potato masher or a fork, but the whisk works really well. And once you have that mashed up enough that you can start stirring it around, just give it a good mix. And once you have that all mixed together, I have 4 eggs and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Throw that in, and I'm just gonna go all at once. And just mix these all together. And once this is all mixed together, set it aside. I don't wanna add the dry ingredients just yet. So bring over your walnuts. You could do a different kind of nut if you wanted. You could even add cinnamon to your dry mixture or whatever spice you like. This one doesn't really have any spice in it, which it's really good without, but it would be good with cinnamon or something else too, maybe some nutmeg or allspice. And once your nuts are all cut up, we can just set these aside. Handy little napkin trick. So bring back your batter. I'm going to switch to my spatula for the dry ingredients. And scrape down your bowl. And we'll just go all in one with the dry ingredients. And mix it till it's mostly combined. If there's little bits of flour, it's okay because we're going to do more mixing when we add in the nuts. And once that's mostly mixed together, we can start adding in our nuts. And just mix this till it's all combined. You don't want to overmix, but make sure all the nuts are evenly dispersed. You don't want big pockets of flour, but a little bit's okay. Scrape down your bowl. Make sure nothing's stuck on the bottom. Now bring over your pans. I'm going to switch sides. There we go. And then I'm just going to eyeball even amounts into my pans here. And I kind of spread it out as I go, just so I can see what I've got. And it doesn't need to be perfectly flat, but you want it to be level. And I think this one has too much. We'll just share a little bit over here. You want to get all of it. And once you're happy with what they look like, these will go in the oven for about 30 minutes to start. We'll check them at 30 and see what we've got. So my bread went for about an hour in the oven. We want to let it cool off. It's really hot. But you can see how nice and golden brown it is. As I mentioned before, if you do this in a darker pan, it gets a lot darker, but it looks really good. So we'll let these cool off for about 10 minutes and then we'll take them out of the pans. So my cake, this isn't cake. So my banana bread has been cooling for about 15 minutes in the pans. Give myself some room here. And just kind of shake it around a little bit. And if you need to, just get a butter knife to loosen the edges. And it's cool enough, I don't need the hot pads anymore. And if you have a little piece that falls off, just kind of piece it back together there. They're still really hot. And now for the second one. And that one stuck a little bit too, but that's all right. Look, it just comes right out there. Put it back in. Maybe let them cool in the pans a little bit longer before you turn it out. But I'm just gonna clean this up and let these cool off the rest of the way. It's okay. But they look really good. So I'm gonna let these cool off the rest of the way before we cut into them. My banana bread has been cooling off. It's just barely warm. You can see it's falling apart, but we're gonna cut that piece off anyways. Let's just move this over here. And let's see what it looks like on the inside. Probably use a bread knife. Let's get a bread knife. Much better. It's still warm, but it looks really good. You can see the big chunks of bananas in there. Looks really good. You know me, I like the end. It's really good. You could easily half this recipe and just do one loaf. You could make muffins out of this batter too. It would be really good. And if you had mixed up your banana a little bit more, you wouldn't have the big chunks in here. But I like the banana chunks in there. And you could even go longer in the oven if you wanted and get it a little bit darker. But this is really good like this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.